Having autism is very weird, and there are some things that are noticeably different or harder for us than typical. This would be neurodivergent, obviously, stuff. Doing neurodivergent videos. I have autism, I have ADD, giftedness, and then some other stuff. And autism is obviously like on the spectrum, has exploded in pop culture, YouTube, stuff like that. I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 20, so that was 25 years ago. And I didn't really think much of it. I've always looked at normal autism, which I know it's not really, just less. I always thought of that as basically they're so smart, or they make so many connections with information that they can't function in the world. They're too smart. And so I looked at autism, Asperger's, as just being slightly less of that. That's how I always thought of it. And then when it started to get really this on the spectrum stuff recently that's exploded, whenever something like that goes into the pop zeitgeist domain, whatever, it'll change some, it seems like. But across all autistic people on the spectrum, it seems pretty much generally accepted that we have some things about us that are weird, different, that make life in some ways harder, in some ways better. For us, like, I do make so many connections with things. I saw a video, it was about giftedness, autism, ADD, and how autism and ADD can look like giftedness sometimes, and they all three get misdiagnosed as the other ones. It's like seeing tangents on, and if you don't know, a tangent line touches a circle at one point. And so at that one point, that line and that circle have the same slope. But the rest of the line is not in the circle, and it's obviously really long. So it's a tangent because it's like you're going, like you're on a topic and then tangent and like switch on to another topic. Connections is probably the number one thing. To me, it all kind of blends together.
But it all blends perfectly. Let the liquor tell it. Hey.
My brain is really good at connections. Some of that's the giftedness. I have trouble communicating with people, whether that's because of the autism or because I'm smart or both or whatever, I don't know. But putting my thoughts into English words is always difficult. Part of the reason for that is the connections. Like when I'm thinking, putting something in words, I'll say the word that I think I'm trying to put it in, and it'll make me think of something else. So the connections thing that's probably the easiest, very broad generalization that you can make. That's the biggest about, autistic people in general, is the connections. Our brains, I don't know if our brains are different or if, I don't know who got the brain that's different. But basically, the ADD, if you're thinking about something and you're making connections, and your ADD brain is wanting to only focus on the parts that are interesting to you. So the autistic part of the brain is it's making these connections, and then the kind of, I don't know, giftedness, I guess, supercharges it, something like that. So that is kind of the most overgeneralized, broadest symptom, it seems like. Fairness and justice can come out when I'm having a conversation with my wife and she says something about me or something I did, and it seems like it's not exactly what it was. I have this like alarm bells going off that are saying like, you have to correct her. She thinks this thing If it was about somebody else or about her or whatever, think whatever you want. But if it's about me, my brain wants to like make sure that you know what it is that I actually said, meant, or did, or whatever. And obviously sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it causes a problem, sometimes not. So that's not exactly fairness or justice, but kind of. But when we see fairness or injustice, we can't just let it go. I have a little mini theory about brain storing info with emotions. And basically, the feeling of unfairness and the idea of unfairness seem to get merged. And then it's like you're feeling the injustice. And I'm trying to think of a better way to put it into words, and I'm having the same problem currently that I usually do, which is why I've tried to go to a format of more podcasts, like just talk for 15 minutes and then upload, because I never say things the way I meant to. And if I went back and tried to edit everything to be what I actually was trying to say, I would never make anything. So the people that are going to want to watch my videos are probably going to be people pretty similar to me, although I don't really know. And obviously, as of now, still very few views. So I'm still just kind of making stuff, and I hope that at some point either it's good enough or it gets in front of enough people that it can actually get, I just want it to get in front of enough people that the small percentage of the people that see it that actually are my people will see them. That's all. I'm not trying to get 50 million views and be rich and famous and all that stuff. I would like to help some people, and I would like to self-sustain this business of this channel, brand. I'm not sure exactly what to call it, but I think everybody knows pretty much what I'm talking about. Clothes and what's comfortable. I pretty much pick out clothes based solely on how they're gonna feel. So a lot of times I'll get dressed and then I'll realize I can't wear this to the place I'm going. Or the weather will be, oh yeah, it's supposed to rain, or oh yeah, it's cold outside, or something. So the generalizations about that I can only really make about myself, but I assume from videos I've seen that it would apply to a lot of autistic people. I still don't even like thinking of myself as an autistic person, not because that's bad, but because it's like, I feel like I'm doing what everybody looks like they're doing. I watch it with most things will either look ridiculous and normal to me at the same time. Like, I've always had a hard time explaining this too, but I will use my dog as an example. He's adorable and he'll do stuff and he's adorable all the time. But there are times where my brain will see, like if he's smelling where another dog just peed and he's smelling it, trying to, he's like putting his nose on the ground and like trying to smell for stuff. Sometimes I'll see just kind of the ridiculous nature of that for just a second. But my brain will do it to other things, and it'll do it times where I don't want it to. And those times are not good. It does it about me, probably more than anything else. So, I will see myself and be like, yeah, I mean, of course, that's what it looks like for me to be doing that. And then my brain will switch and see it completely ridiculously, and I will see how ridiculous it looks. And I mean, if you think about it, everything is both ridiculous and not ridiculous all the time, just based on what context you're observing it in. So, a guitar in the hands of a musician playing something good is not ridiculous. But, like, I don't know. a kid sitting that doesn't know how to play guitar, banging on it, ridiculous, and not a great example. But it's the inability of me to not do it or to do it that's frustrating to me. I know that transitions are another thing, like going to bed or getting out of bed in the morning, or taking a shower, or changing clothes. All of these things, if my brain realizes, hey, at a certain point in time I'm going to have to do this thing, it immediately starts to be averse to that transition, whatever it is. So if it's to get ready to go somewhere and I know I have to do it at a certain time, I will look for ways to change it. And I don't do this consciously, and I don't think about it consciously. It doesn't take up any of my actual mental energy, and I don't really realize it until I analyze something, in the past, is when I will notice these things. Oh man, I just thought of another one. I don't know if this is an autistic thing, a gifted thing, or whatever. My brain does a whole lot of stuff in the background that I have access to but don't consciously do. When I played baseball, I used to always describe it like this: pitcher lets go of the ball, I black out, I get a base hit, and I come to running down the first baseline. That's how it always was. And I was a good hitter. So I don't know. I mean, there's something that actually takes over and acts as me that isn't the person talking to you right now. It's kind of like being in the zone, flow state, that kind of thing, except I literally don't have conscious access to it. It's almost always a good thing. Like, I'll look at a phone number, and a couple hours later, I'll need that number, and I'll try to enter it, and I'll enter it right. And basically, anytime I see a number, my brain just I have almost a photographic memory. I can't literally go back to 3 hours ago and search a photo, but my brain kind of can do that. And it does it whether I want it to or not all the time. So the times where it doesn't do well and I have to be like, I wish I'd have done better, I know there's really not much I can do to do that, because it's not me here talking to you now that does that. It's the thing I guess it's my subconscious. I don't know. I have a theory that the left and right brains are like, basically one of them is for my wife just texted me. I'm trying to think of a way to say this. That basically we have a brain that does some stuff and then another brain that does some other stuff. And obviously they talk, and, it may very well be that autistic is it may be that all disorders are just how the two halves are linked, and the differences in how that, how they interact with each other. That could be all mental disorders, but I think with autism, it seems like it would make more sense that it would be kind of a generalized way to say a lot of little micro differences. That would be the spectrum, possibly. Because my brain really does feel like there's two people in there. Two independent beings that, look around the world and think things and, think about ways to do stuff and all that stuff. And then kind of one either takes over or the other one. When I was younger, I thought all information stored with emotions. So things that have really strong emotions happening when the brain stores it is going to be a whole lot more accessible. And then PTSD is basically the most extreme case of that. It turned out, like, I don't know, 10-ish, 15-ish years ago, I think, that basically became the way that it is. I mean, it was always the way that it was but it became widely accepted that that's kind of how it is. I don't know if it's been studied down to actually being able to tell that it is actually stored with emotion. It's probably one half of the brain deals mostly with feelings and one doesn't. So everything that gets stored, it's kind of like a hard drive. The emotional side tracks it, and if it's really, really strong emotion, it can access it easier. I used to try to like study with when emotional things would happen, to at least try to test whether my brain actually literally stored the stuff better. Like right now, this whole theory that I had, it seems like I could put it into English words really easily in like 2 minutes, and it would sound all, well described, and it would make sense and stuff. But I know that no matter how long I described it for, I would never actually get a description that I thought was sufficient to communicate to somebody else what it actually is. Being an introvert that's an extrovert around some people, but an introvert around most people. And once you get to know somebody, they become one of those people. It's called an ambivert, apparently. But if I'm in a group of people that I know really well, I'm like really outgoing and pretty funny and stuff like that. But if I'm in a group of people I don't know very well, I basically don't talk. And if it's a conversation with one other person, you can kind of get to know them better. But if it's multiple people, you can't really have a one-on-one conversation. So if you don't already know them, then, it's just, and I've always pictured people standing around and you're imagining, it's not, you don't consciously think about it, but my brain will imagine what it's like for each of those people, both visually, to be looking at different, at me from a different angle, kind of. But there's, oh, damn it. I hate it when that happens. But I'm about to move. I have an idea that I'm going to go to next, and then I describe just a little too long, and then it's gone. The empath thing. I basically, when somebody becomes in close proximity to me, I can tell kind of like their perspective, both emotionally, whatever, logically. My brain kind of just knows, and not perfectly or anything, but it just like senses it, and then I'll use that information, not on purpose and not in a bad way, but like if you can tell somebody's really sad, you'd be like nicer, that kind of thing. And I will usually, it all seems kind of seamless, but it's really, I don't even consciously know the information that I'm using to be nicer to a person who's sad, for example. But then looking back at it later, it's so weird because I didn't consciously know they were sad, but I treated them like they were sad. So I obviously did know that they were sad. And, a lot of times somebody else that's there won't notice the same thing. So it's like, I'll be, and that, like, I'll be the only one. I'll be the one that is kind of, it's hard to, I'm having a hard time describing it. My empath thing in my brain will sense these things, and it's weird. It really is from a place of just trying to make the experience as good as possible or as least bad as possible, kind of all the time. And you want to optimize was a big word for a long time. You want to optimize things. If you know much math, calculus and stuff, derivatives and inflection points and stuff like that, I used to try to come up with equations for things that, no person should try to come up with equations for, to try and see where like the slope turned to zero, where you could figure out where maximum and minimum are and stuff like that. basically my brain is always doing lots of stuff that I don't intend for it to do. I don't know if it takes energy from something. It doesn't feel like it. But when it goes into kind of hyperdrive and does that stuff, but to a much more ridiculous level, it's a way that it can kind of put me in burnout without me actually even being aware that I'm doing anything. So that's another one. And these are all just, these are just kind of overgeneralizations about me that probably apply to most people that are autistic, ADD. I'm ADHD or ADHD. I don't like to do the whole neurodivergent, like I don't like thinking of it that way, but since so many things that I do are colored by it, I've just pretty much decided to make all my videos from a perspective of neurodivergent, interest. And I hope that they help people. That's the whole reason I make any of the videos that I have made, even the ones that are supposed to be funny. They are literally all to, add something to the person that's watching it, whether it's just, entertaining, funny. Usually I try to be actually helpful, and actually provide value. But, I don't put pressure on myself to always provide value. And a lot of times I upload videos that I really don't think are all that good or even are completely done. But I have such a crazy brain that if I don't do that way, I will end up with, 30 videos halfway done and none uploaded. So I think I'm going to drop it there. My son should be here in a minute. And even if you're interested in what I'm talking about, there's got to be a limit, right? So I really do appreciate the support, watching, comment, like, all that stuff. But most importantly, please make this video a success by it helping you. And if it helped you, doing the things so that maybe it'll help somebody else. Till next time, this side or the other.